Welcome to HTM on the Line. I'm your host, Bryant Hawkins Sr. This week's podcast is a very important episode for the HTM industry. We have two very ambitious young ladies who are leading a great resource for the HTM industry. Before we get into this week's podcast, we have a word from our sponsor. Struggling with your current repair services? TotalScope, the leader in medical device repair, is a direct repair facility for flexible endoscopes, rigid endoscopes, surgical camera, power instruments, and ultrasound probe. Give them a call today at 800-471-2255. Let's get into this week's podcast. My special guests today are from HTM Jobs. We have Kristen Register and Sydney Krieg. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hi, thanks for having us. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I'm happy to have you guys also. I'm a huge fan of HTM Jobs. That's why I reached out to you ladies. So before we get into this podcast, let's start off first with, tell me a little bit about yourself. We'll go with you, Kristen. Tell me about yourself.
So as you said, I'm Kristen Register. I'm the sales specialist for HTM Jobs. So I work on the employer side on getting any open positions up on the site and any advertising on the site. I'm originally from a really small town called Sandersville, Georgia, and I moved to Nashville about 2.5 years ago. And I've been here ever since. And I really love MD Publishing and working here. And I love the city of Nashville and don't see myself leaving this city anytime soon.
Great. But Kristen, let me ask you this question. Were you with MD Publishing before HTM Jobs, or HTM Jobs was your first stance with them?
So HTM Jobs actually is my first job out of college. I started at MD Publishing actually as an intern. So I was working part-time right after HTM Jobs launched. I would say I joined a couple months into the website being live. So I was doing kind of data entry on the back end, just helping out where I could. And I just naturally fell into the sales role. And the next thing I know, our president, John Krieg, was offering me a full-time job. I was traveling to the shows not long after Sydney joined. And that's when the dynamic duo really started. So I'm lucky to say this is my first job and I'm really loving it. So nothing too much before, but I was the lucky one that graduated college in 2020, the best time to find a job. So I was really fortunate to land where I am.
Awesome. Miss Sydney, let's hear your story.
Okay, so I'm Sydney Krieg. I am the recruiting specialist for HTM Jobs. So like Kristen said, she deals with sales and I am more on the candidate side. So helping get people into our talent network and then helping fill those jobs that employers are needing people for. So we kind of tag team. They call us the dynamic duo. A little bit about me. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I then went to school at the University of Colorado in Boulder, go Buffs. And then after school, I moved to New York City where I was an MRI participant navigator for the Child Mind Institute. I studied childhood psychology, so I worked there helping kids scan with MRIs as part of a big research project. I then, like most people, left the city during the pandemic and moved to Nashville with my family. I started working at MD Publishing with HTM Jobs as a temporary gig until I kind of figured out what I wanted my next move to be. And I fell in love with it. And Kristen and I, that's when we kind of got our start here at HTM Jobs. And I've been here, I would say, about 1.5 years now.
Great. Now, HTM Jobs, how did this come about? I know you both say you came into it when it was already getting started. Where did this brainchild come from, HTM Jobs?
So HTM Jobs came about pretty organically, I would say. I'm sure a lot of you know, but maybe you don't. We do a lot of in-person shows. So we have 2 MD Expos, one in the spring, one in the fall. We have imaging conferences and a bunch of other smaller shows for HTM mixers, things like that. When we would go to the shows, our president, Krieg, would get so much feedback with people coming up asking him if they knew of anyone in this area looking for a position, any BMETs looking for jobs here. Really, a lot of people expressed how difficult it was to find people in this industry to fill their vacancies. And so he heard this over and over again. And he saw a need in our industry for a centralized hub that listed multiple openings throughout the country for imaging professionals and biomedical equipment techs. There were only really a few recruiters out there. It was kind of one-man shows just based on their Rolodex, finding people, helping fill jobs. And so that's kind of where this idea started. He would create a hub, create a website where it'd be easy for candidates to come find jobs and it'd be easy for employers to list them. So that's kind of how it got started.
Great. Kristen, maybe you can tell us, how does the HTMjobs.com website work? Say I'm a new technician, I'm looking for a job. How do I go about registering?
Yeah, so it's completely free to register. We wanted to make this an easy and simple resource on the candidate side. We know it can be difficult when looking for a job and a very overwhelming process. So we made a lot of the questions you can do on your smartphone, on a tablet, on your computer. It's just simple questions about your information. And then we even ask questions like, what's your salary requirements? Are you willing to relocate? That gives Sydney and I a better idea of helping find you that position. You're able to get email notifications based off your answers of new positions located in the areas that you put. And then once you complete your candidate portal, you can go in and upload your resume. Like I said, it's free and it's extremely safe. Sydney and I are the only ones on the back end seeing that. So it's a super easy process to navigate. Once that candidate portal set up, you can browse all the positions we have, and we even have incredible resources like our Career Center. If you're not actively looking for a position, you can go in there and read some industry articles, or even before you feel comfortable in applying or interviewing, we have a lot of tips and tricks on how to better set yourself up during this interview and hiring process.
Now, this is amazing. I can tell you, when I came into the industry, nothing like this existed. It's unbelievable what you ladies are offering technicians out there in the industry trying to find a job. But now let me ask you this question, and maybe Sydney, you can answer this for us. I'm Crawthall Healthcare. I want to get my jobs listed on your website. How does that work for the job side, the guys that need to hire the people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we have a few avenues you can go down if you're an employer looking to fill vacancies. You can submit a web request on our website that kind of asks you just a basic of your name, how many vacancies you're looking to fill, stuff like that. Kristen will then receive the form and reach out to you, or you can email her directly at htmjobs@mdpublishing.com. Either way, you will get in touch with one of us. We're active on LinkedIn. You can message us there. We post all the time about, candidates looking for jobs or our different posting options. So once you get in touch with one of us, Kristen will go over our different posting options. So we have a wide range of listings that you can pick to have your jobs on our site. So we have one, like a single job posting that's for 45 days. We have a pack of 5. If you have maybe 2 vacancies at the moment, but you're going to have a few more down the road, that's good for a year. And then we also have membership options. So we have 6 or 12-month membership options. So if you're a big guy out there like Crossell or Agility or Steris, companies like that, that's an unlimited package. So you pay monthly and you can post as many jobs as possible. We deal with all of the posting on our end. So it's pretty easy for you to get those jobs up quickly, and then we'll promote them on all of our platforms.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, what makes HTM Jobs different from any other job website? What sets HTM Jobs apart from the rest, in your opinion? Either one of you can answer this one.
Yeah, well, I can speak to kind of the employer side of how it makes it different for the employer. And Sydney, you can kind of speak to the candidate's experience. But on the employer side, why we believe HTM Jobs is different is, on some of these larger job boards, you're reaching masses that aren't necessarily the talent network that you're looking for. The number one thing I hear is that they're getting a lot of quantity, but not quality. So what we can offer to the table is we have a great talent network of over 2,000 people already registered into the system. And as we continue to grow as a website and attend these in-person shows and meet candidates face-to-face and advertise on social media more, that's just constantly growing with newer talent. We're connecting with students in different college and programs that join our talent network on a regular basis. So what sets us apart is the talent network being HTM specific.
Right. And as far as the candidate side goes, I'll just jump in real quick. We find that a lot of times when candidates that are looking for positions use other larger job boards, they spend a lot of time getting their application together, submitting their resume, cover letters, things like that. And then they don't end up hearing from the employer. And like Kristen was saying, they get so many applications that it's hard to kind of sift through all of them. And a lot of times when you submit an application or your resume, it's not a person on the other end. It's either an algorithm or a resume scanner or HR teams that aren't even in the biomed departments looking at these. And I think that we offer a really personalized touch, like we were saying earlier, where Kristen and myself, we physically look at the resumes and we physically send them to our hiring teams. And if that's not a good match for you, we'll find a job that is without you even having to look for it. So I think the personalized touch is really what sets us apart.
I'm Brian Hawkins, newly graduate from biomed school, and I applied for a job. Do y'all keep in touch with the applicant, giving them information or feedback?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think we do a bit of both. We have a large candidate pool, as Kristen was saying, so it's kind of hard to keep in touch because it is just the two of us. It's hard to keep in touch with every single one. But as soon as your application is submitted, we will reach out, let you know that we've received it. We will let you know that we've passed it along, and we will continuously check in with yourself and with the employer to make sure that the communication is there, that it's happening organically, that the interviews are going on, and we'll stay in touch that way. And additionally, we have a big database separate from our, we take our HTM job database and then we break it down into specific candidates, what types of jobs they're looking for, what regions they're looking in, things like that. So we stay in touch that way. My bit of advice is if you are a candidate looking for a job, make sure you're staying connected with us. Reach out to us periodically. Let us know you're still looking. Let us know if things have changed, and we will definitely continue to stay in touch and continue to send jobs your way that we think you're a good fit for.
Great. So if I was looking for a job, I'm living in Louisiana and I want to live in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Is there can I apply and say I want to look in this specific region? Is there a feature there when you register?
Yeah. So when you register, there's an option to put if you're willing to relocate into what region. So that's a great way for Sydney and I to indicate that you're looking to move when you apply. And then also on our online application, there's a message box. We encourage a lot of candidates when they're applying to an out-of-state position to go in there and put that they're willing to relocate and move for this position specifically and why they would be a good candidate. That just helps them stand out, and it helps sometimes, like we said, if there's a disconnect between the hiring manager and the biomed department or any internal recruiters, they're able to go in there and physically see, okay, even though this candidate is in Louisiana, they are willing to move to Arizona.
Now, I noticed this was on someone applying from overseas. How do y'all handle those type of candidates who may be out the country, but they apply for a job on HTM Jobs? How would you handle that? Total Scope, a direct repair facility for flexible endoscopes, rigid endoscopes, surgical cameras, instrumentation, and ultrasound probes. Total Scopes help clients who are frustrated with manufacturer, overage charges at the end of their contracts, equipment always needing overhauls when they feel it should be a minor repair situation, and equipment that is being deemed non-repairable. Total Scope offers fully capitated service agreements, giving you the peace of mind that you will never see an overage charge at the end of your contract. Total Scope only repairs what is needed to bring your product back within OEM specification, avoiding overhaul situations unless absolutely necessary. Total Scope has a less than 1% non-repairable rate, helping clients with products that other third-party repair companies are unable to repair. Returning to the podcast.
So we do get a lot of international candidates, which is wonderful. We definitely want to help everybody get a job, as much as we can. This is more of a case-by-case basis. So this would be a great time to reach out to one of us to kind of explain your situation. I would say a good majority of our employers require candidates to provide their own sponsorship or visas. So if you definitely have that under control and you have that all squared away, it'll be super seamless for you to apply to jobs and get into the interview process. If that's not the case for the candidate, then we do have a few employers that are willing to sponsor candidates. So that's more of a case-by-case basis, like I said. So we really try to take each international candidate story, kind of place them where we think that they would be a good fit, and definitely get them into the hands and in front of the hiring teams who can kind of explain that process a bit more. Even for Kristen and I, sometimes it gets a bit over our heads with the logistics of that. So we definitely, if we can't answer any of your questions or are having trouble, we'll definitely put you in the hands of somebody who can help.
Now, HTM Jobs is basically in the United States, I would assume.
We do have a few positions overseas. I think we have a few in England. We had some in Italy. Our positions are changing. We update them twice a week. So they're constantly changing. If you don't see something, that speaks to you, then make sure to check back. And we have expanded. We have a few in Canada, things like that.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I learned something new this evening. I just thought it was an American job site, but that's awesome. Hey, y'all going to be worldwide in 5 years. Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. What is in the future for HTM Jobs? Is there anything you can share with us that's going to be happening next few months or upcoming year?
Yeah, we have something really exciting that we're working towards coming up at the MD Expo Houston. We are actually going to be hosting a career fair, kind of professional development with our young professional groups as well. So Sydney and I will be there representing all the positions on HTM Jobs, connecting students with our employers or any candidates just looking, helping them look for their positions, as well as we'll have some professional development elements where we'll have mock interviews, as well as professional headshots. So we're still working out all the details on that, but that's definitely something that you should attend if you're heading to MD Expo April 11th through the 13th in Houston.
Ladies, have y'all been doing any outreach work other than with HTM Jobs?
Yeah, so we actually, about a year ago, started an initiative with the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology, CBET, in San Antonio, where we host a nightly webinar. I think it's every 6 weeks for their new cohort. And we've recently become kind of ingrained in their curriculum. So we're one of the last classes that they'll take. Kristen and I join the webinar. It's a Monday night every 6 weeks where we kind of introduce HTM Jobs. We hear the students' perspective, what they've kind of struggled with or what their concerns are going into the job field. So we have started working with schools in that capacity. A few other schools are in the works, kind of doing more work like that. But we really are, every time we go to these shows, we hear how people are leaving the field faster than they're coming in. So we definitely have a lot of stuff in the works about kind of fostering the youth, getting the word out there about biomed, and really making sure that this up-and-coming generation is prepared and equipped with everything they need, especially when entering the workforce after school.
Right. Yeah, CBET. My son went to CBET also. That's a great school out there with Monty. I'm a big fan of it.
They're great people.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, we probably just missed his class then.
Yeah, he finished in, I think, October of 2021.
Just missed him.
Just missed him.
I'm going to send him back.
Just to hear our little spiel.
If you had to put into a number, how many jobs you guys have listed on your website?
It really does vary. Right now, we have over 400, I would say anywhere between 300 to 500 open positions around this time.
Compared to technician manager, you would say 60-40, 70-30, technician side, manager side. I know you have manager positions also. Which would you say you have more of a need for?
I would say we have a pretty good mix of internships, externships, imaging, biomed, and manager director roles. I would say, talking to our employers, the biggest need and the hardest positions they're having to fill are those biomed 2-3, or kind of the middle area. If you're not, entry level, but you're not management just yet. So those are definitely the harder positions to fill. Our director management roles are pretty popular, as well as, our entry level. So I would say the majority, if, we have a good mix, but I would say the majority, the big chunk, are that kind of mid-range.
I know there's a large influx of young people coming into the industry, but do you find yourself assisting individuals that are between the age of mid-30s to lower 40s who may be going through a career change?
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke with a candidate in MDXO Atlanta who was kind of in that position. He was a student just now learning what HTM even really was. That's why he came to MDXO Atlanta, to learn a little bit more about the industry he was getting into. He was Sadiq, correct me if I'm wrong, airport. What was he doing before?
I think he was an aviation tech or something along those lines.
Something along those lines. Oh, traffic controller, airport traffic controller, maybe. And he was very interested in this field, didn't know a lot about it, started doing some research, and coming to an Indie Expo and speaking with us about all the opportunities. He was really excited at all the opportunities that he had. Right now, it definitely is a candidate's market. Like we said, we have so many open positions with great benefits and, relocation money to help you move to the position that you want to start at, and sign-on bonuses and all these great things. So we definitely do see, like you said, a lot of people looking at a career change into this field.
All right, great. Now, in closing, I know you mentioned you talked to the young ones at CBET. Can y'all possibly share, because everyone that's coming into this industry don't attend CBET in San Antonio. So can each of you share some of what you share with those students?
Of course. I think, aside from telling the students, what it's like to enter the workforce here, kind of what we hear as an industry whole, I think aside from that, something that Kristen and I really, really emphasize is the need for soft skills. So that would be, your social skills, your networking skills, how you, start and leave an interview, those kind of the skills that are sometimes overlooked, but are equally, if not more important than your experience. I think everyone we come across in this industry is pretty talented. They have the work experience, they have the certifications, they have, the credentials to back them up. Where employers get hung up is when they are interviewing candidates that might not fit with their team. It has to fit with the office environment. It has to fit in the workshop environment. And that's equally as important, if not more important when you're looking for a job, and especially when you're interviewing. I think it goes a long way, especially in this industry. I would say a lot of people kind of neglect those skills, and employers it definitely shows, and they are definitely looking for people that are, asking about the industry, what they're looking for in an interview, or sending a thank you note, or coming to these shows and, being brave and being bold and going up to these employers and having these conversations and networking. So that would be my bit of advice. If you are looking to enter this field and you are getting, your certificates, you're in school, but you want to go that extra mile and stand out to employers, definitely hone in on those soft skills. Like Kristen mentioned earlier, we have a great career center that even if you aren't looking for a job right this very second, you can go over resume building tips, you can go over interview tips, how to ask for a raise, how to negotiate, things like that are definitely be useful down the line.
Right. Kristen, you have a thought?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sydney on all of that. The technical side is what you go to school for, and that's what you're good at, and that's what you're going to be doing in your career. This industry is so close-knit and has so many great resources like this podcast, like the MD Expos, like our webinar Wednesdays, that students can access to learn more, whether that's on the technical side or the soft skill side. Connecting with other biomeds, getting into your state association where you can join monthly meetings. Things like that really make this industry stand out and just form this great bond that we do have. So we always encourage students to join as many resources as they can so they can ask for help, advice, questions. We have another great platform, MedWrench, where you can ask any questions if you need help on equipment. Not a lot of other industries can say that they can hop on and hear from someone, halfway across the world to get some advice from. So we just always tell students to get as involved as they can in their department, into their state associations, if you're able to go to an MD Expo, because that really will help your career advance and just make you a better, working professional as well.
Awesome. Great. Ladies, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. And I have to tell you, what you ladies are doing is a one of one. So take your hat off and take a bow, because you are truly contributing to the HTM industry, and you are well appreciated. And I thank the both of you.
Oh, thank you, Bryant. You too.
Without this platform, we couldn't get our word out. So we're really grateful to have you as a resource as well.
Great. If you ever need me for anything, I'm here for you. Just give me a call. I'll try my best to help you in any way y'all need me, here for you. I wanted to take a minute and give you my thoughts on the great work Sydney Krieg and Kristen Register are doing at HTM Jobs. HTM Jobs is truly a one of one in the HTM industry. I don't think we realize how great HTM Jobs is for the HTM industry today and in the future. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. They have over 40,000 employment sites that serve job seekers, employers, and recruiters worldwide. More than 40,000 employment sites. This is not counting the tens of millions of companies that post their own jobs. But if we focus on the 40,000 employment sites, the top 5 employment sites will probably be Indeed, Monster, Glassdoor, FlexJob, and AngelList. None of the top 5 is strictly for one job industry. Let me give you another example to make my point, because I don't think y'all hearing me. Let's look at nursing. Nursing has thousands of job placement websites. Let me name the top 5 job sites for nurses. Nurse.com, nursejungle.com, Nurse Finders, Campus RN, and RN Wanted. If you Google search nursing jobs, engineering jobs, you come up with a number of job placement sites. But now let's Google HTM jobs. See what comes up. Maybe 5 websites, and 3 out of the 5 are HTM companies. So out of the 40,000 employment sites, there is only 1 for HTM exclusively. HTM Jobs may not be number 1 in the job searching online industry, but it's number 1 in the HTM industry. HTM Jobs is for the HTM industry. Let me say it again. HTM Jobs is for the HTM industry. Tell me a website that gives you 100% HTM job listings. Tell me a job search engine that have a talent network of HTM professionals only. HTM Jobs have a HTM Career Center to help you with topics like how to prepare for interviews, how to create a resume and cover letter, preparing for uncertain times in HTM industry, soft skill development, how to achieve HTM goals, how to decide between two job offers in the HTM industry. This is just the Career Center. If you're not registered with HTM Job, go to htmjobs.com and register. Or if you're an HTM company, reach out to HTM Jobs and see how they can help you with locating candidates. As always, I have to leave you with a quote at the end of each podcast. And this quote is from Steve Jobs, no pun intended. Steve Jobs says, "The secret of my success is that we have gone to exceptional lengths to hire the best people in the world." Please share this podcast on all your social media platforms. Y'all be safe out there.